practiced, and I call it getting out of your head, because it really does. Because when you close your eyes, which we can do that right now, everybody here, we can just sit where you're at or stand or whatever. Just close your eyes. Well, hopefully you're not driving, by the way, or traveling. Close your eyes.
I could pull over.
Yeah, pull over. Well, but close your eyes, and when you're trying to be, observe the quietness, you have this surround sound, colored movie distraction and worry and, oh my gosh, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Or what do I do? Or did I leave, did I turn the stove off? Or did I, oh my gosh, there's this constant stream of information flowing past, and pretty loud for most people. And it's this distraction. And what people don't really, for the most part, realize is that's not you. You are the one watching and listening to that. And the technique is to distance you from that noise, that chatter, or whatever you want to call it, distraction, and get out of your head. And there's a technique that I discovered a long time ago. I've been helping a lot of, I started out with some Vietnam vet friends of mine, and from myself. Because I had this distraction was so loud for myself, I had a very difficult time concentrating. And my job at the time was, I required a high amount of concentration because I was working with very high tolerance metal machining, and required a lot of concentration. And I couldn't focus. And that was when I discovered this particular technique, which now I call getting out of your head, and it separates you from the noise. It gives you the ability, the technique, within practicing the technique every day, gives you the ability then to shut that on and off at will. So you're not being distracted by it. And when you do that, all kinds of things biologically change. You're able to handle stress. You can stand in the face of a total chaos, and you're really not bothered by it, because you have mastered. You're being a master of that, and instead of that distraction running you and distracting you, causing your hormones to go, to increase your adrenaline and your cortisol and other stress hormones, and in that worry and fight and flight and, oh my gosh, did I do this, and what am I doing tomorrow, and oh my gosh, is he mad at me, and on and on and on the stories go. And it's very loud for most people nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's not, and I've tried. I spent a lot of time and a lot of money going after all these other meditation things, because people will say, well, transcendental, that kind of meditation works, and this kind of meditation works, and you got to go to this guru and check this out. And I gave it a good go for years until I discovered just that one little technique. I was smoking at the time. The smoking just went away. It wasn't that I quit. It's just I didn't feel the need to smoke anymore for another distraction. So many things changed. My nervous system calmed down. I wasn't so jittery and wasn't so shaky. And in those constant states of being in that emotional craziness is very hard on the body. The nervous system is actually part of your electrical system. And your electrical system is pretty much all the soft tissue in your body. And when you are being stressed continually and you're unable to have a mastery of it, because the other couple other things that factor in is when we don't sleep enough, when we're eating a diet that's very low available minerals and amino acids, the electrical system gets taxed, because the more you are in a stress condition, the faster your cells replace themselves because of the stress. So therefore, if you're not feeding yourself properly, or if you're not getting enough sleep, or if you're drinking too much coffee, or if you're drinking soda pops, or there's so many contributing factors, but just all in all, your nervous system gets stressed and the cells become replaced very, very quickly, and then you feel tired and run down. So it's an accumulative effect, as well as being unable to handle the stress mentally that makes that makes you in that state. And I know you've been dealing with a lot of stress. I mean, we've talked about it before, and by all means, you know, it's only reasonable, because when your body needs to heal, stress causes unhealth. When your body needs to heal, it wants to shut down tiredness and rest so the body can replenish its cells.
Right,
Part of healing.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So you're doing the best you can with what you got. I mean, you got to really, you know, you're dealing with your stress. You're doing what you can with everything else. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but, you know, it's really sucking living through it. I understand that. Hey, you want to take another question? There's a couple more here.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
What can we take for constipation?
You got the questions, I don't.
Yeah, I got some here. Yeah, I don't see the big chat room on the .com station there. But what can I take for constipation? Well, here again, if you're just looking at constipation, there's all kinds of herbs that I use. But then I'm always the one to ask, you know, well, what's causing the constipation? You know, the constipation alone, in essence, is, you know, your bowels aren't moving, right? There's several contributing factors to that alone. We have, hold on just a second.
Dave, are you keeping up on the questions for us?
Yes, ma'am, and in 5 minutes we're going to take a little break, because I'm going to play a little Native American music for you, my dear.
Oh, nice. Thank you, honey. Thank you. I sure need that.
Let me see what I got good here that I can play this nice and loud that'll keep us going. Let me look under music.
You just cut in whenever you need to, Dave. Then.
Oh, you go ahead. I'm going to look for this while you answer the question.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's several contributing factors to constipation. I mean, it's a topic that most people feel, you know, a little emotionally attached to addressing, but it's very major, and it's a very major problem. You have lazy muscle. Your peristaltic muscle gets lazy, or it's toxic and it doesn't work right. It loses its electrical energy, if you will, or the contraction. You have dietary issues. You have stress issues. I have so many people that they lose their job, and then they go into these long periods of constipation just in that one stressor that floods the system with stress hormones, which is like adrenaline and cortisol, and immediately that particular those hormones, once they flood through the body, they set us up physically for a fight or flight of the body. So what that means is it's pulling the energy in the blood away from the digestive organs and putting them towards the muscles so we can run. But we don't live in an environment like we did 1,000 years ago, where we have to run from the wolf, or we have to chase down our supper. So that live in a system now that is flooded with the stress hormones. So if we don't burn off the stress hormones, it continues to flow through our bloodstream in our system and keep the blood away from our digestive organs. So just stress alone can cause that. I like Senity, or actually most of the health food stores and even the grocery stores now, they have and I don't know the brand, but the name on the box is called Smooth Move. Or a Senity, which you can get bulk, relatively inexpensive, and just make tea and drink a glass or two of that. Then it depends on the severity of your constipation. I mean, I struggled with this for over 20 years of my life, so I have gotten pretty good at that also, of helping that. One really important thing with any constipation type of issue, there's an associated digestive issue going on. always. It's just inevitable, even if it's a stress issue. And one of the main amino acids that drives the peristaltic action is glutamine.
Right.
And glutamine is very low in our diets nowadays. For one, most people aren't eating the animal products, and that's where it's readily available if you're eating animal products that are not conventionally farmed.
Oh, I tell you what, on that one, I can tell you right now, when I have a good, decent, well, we like to have it more for dinner than breakfast, but we like to have our bacon, eggs, and potatoes every so often. And I tell you what, not an hour later, and I gotta go. But no, I know that works. For me, though, I've also noticed that if I get to where I'm feeling a bit on the constipated side, a good 6-ounce glass of fresh vegetable juice works great.
Right. Oh, one other. There's another contributing factor that I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, folks, we're back again with Deatra and Dr. Wil Spencer. You two still have the soapbox. You still got the mic, and the spotlight's still on you. Go to it.
Oh, right. That sounds like a great idea. Well, we were talking about some of the causes and remedies of constipation.
Well, there's a lot of just remedies just if you're looking at constipation, but there again, this is why we were talking before the break about all the different contributing factors is what I want to get into, because there's so many contributing factors. That's why when somebody says, "What do you do about this?" I'm like, "Well, what do I do about that?" I'm going to ask 50 more questions, because there's so many contributing factors to everything, because we have enough nerve tissue line to line, and if you stack them or in a line, they go to the moon and back. And everything is connected to everything else in my world. Where just because you got a problem with your stomach doesn't mean you just cut it out.
Right.
And so that's why. I mean, I love questions, but you're going to have to, realize that there's a lot of contributing questions that I'm going to fire back and need to know answers before you can actually answer the original simple question. What can I take for constipation? Right. So, and here's another question. How do I fix Morgellons in the eyes? And that I'm assuming, because I've heard that particular question before with this new technology, invasive, what did you just say before, Dave? I just escaped my brain during the break. About this technology that is almost like surveillance from the inside.
Targeted individual.
There you go, targeted individuals.
That's it.
I have been just getting into that over the last year or so, because of the technology is so real, and it seems far more advanced over in other countries like in Europe than here, but yet there is some things going on here. Where there was a gal, this story is going to blow your mind. She's on her computer checking her bank account, okay? She types in her keyword or her login and her password, and to check her bank account like she's always done, and notices that there's money missing.
Oh my. Okay.
I'm going to change my password and do it again. Next day, there's more money missing, so she calls the bank. Well, there was nothing wrong. No one has got intrusion. No, there's no, everything is fine. Okay, a couple of times of this, and then she did a little thing. She's thinking in her brain, okay, so I'm going to tell somebody else to go change the password and then check in for me. And sure enough, somebody else does it. There's no money missing. Come to find out that this technology has got into the nerves in her eyes, the rod and cone cells, and for somehow, this is totally bizarre, it still freaks me out a little bit, that somebody was watching through her eyes, through this nanotechnologies, whoever this was. I don't even know.